Well, we're back again for another round, so glad you could show up. So let's see what we can do today. Well, today we're going to talk about, in this lesson, the silent killer, which is hypertension, which is a growing problem in this country. We talked a little bit about it in obesity because obesity is a issue in hypertension. We talked about it as part of metabolic syndrome. So let's take a short look at high blood pressure and what nutrition's role is in that. But before we do, you guys said you had not a lot of time, so I'm going to try to help you to have more time. So let's look at this video. It's coming up with a new way of increasing your time, and you can actually study while you're eating using both hands. So you can write and you could hold something and eat at the same time. So let's look at this and we'll show you how.
Think about this. The strongest muscles in your body are in your eyes. But using a computer can strain them.
Well, this is not it, so you're just going to have
Your eye doctor has new technology to combat that. See an eye doctor yearly. Find a Think About Your Eyes doctor at thinkaboutyoureyes.com.
So think about your eyes. Anyway.
Food giant Yum Brands unveiled a product innovation this week that may change the way America eats, the fast food feed bag. Beginning today, diners will be able to strap on the wearable menu item at participating KFC, Long John Silver's, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut restaurants, making it easier than ever to eat on the go.
Something that we heard over and over again was, I really love your food. I just wish it wasn't so much work to have to eat it. So that's why we came up with the feed bag. It's hot, steamy food in your face right now.
The feed bag meals are created by grinding the restaurant's most popular menu items into a flavorful, textured food product.
I got the Chipotle chicken local cabeza bag. Sometimes I don't feel like moving my arms. So this way you can just have it on your face, close to your mouth, so you don't have to pick anything up.
The innovative design of the feed bag meals does away with the hassles of chewing and stopping to breathe while eating. Yum Brands is marketing the bags as a solution for multitasking professionals as well as other busy Americans.
For an additional 50 cents, they'll just throw the soda right in there. You don't need to keep sucking it through the straw.
Parents say they like the convenience of the kids' meal feed bags. Yum Brands says it envisions a future when feed bags will be the standard form of eating in America.
We're always looking for more efficient ways to get our food products into our customers' gaping maws. And it's fun. I mean, you can have breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, all simultaneously in one feed sack strapped to your face.
Beginning next month, restaurants will add a version of the feed bag meals for dine-in customers, the family-style feed trough, as well as a drive-through version in which so-called feed hoses will gush food directly into customers' open mouths as they drive past the restaurant in their cars.
So, see, you have no excuse now for having to take time from studying to eat. You can now get the fast food bag and eat, study, do whatever you want all at the same time. All right. What that has to do with helping for hypertension, not much, but anyway, I want to, keep you up to date at all the newest trends. Anyway, hypertension basically is, when your blood pressure is high. There are different degrees, as you can see on the screen there, of blood pressure. And, normal would be obvious 120/80. That's what they would like it to be. Probably not maybe realistic. As you get older, your blood pressure normally goes up. So as you get older and older, more the pre-hypertension range might be more normal for you. But, the goal is to get to 120 over 180. If you don't know, the systolic pressure is when the heart is actually contracting, and so that's going to be at the highest pressure, and then diastolic is when it's relaxing. So anyway, these are our goals, let's go ahead and see how nutrition plays a role. But let's look at some statistics. blood pressure is on the rise, and a third of the nation has a problem with blood pressure, and a little lower in Oregon, but again, there's almost a third of people don't know they have it because they don't get it checked. So it's a high risk factor, for metabolic syndrome and heart disease, for strokes and that kind of thing. So it's something that needs to be addressed. Here's blood pressure. Again, you can look down at the states that had high obesity, low activity. You can see that they have the highest amounts of blood pressure. Oregon's not doing too bad, but if you want to lower your blood pressure, go to somewhere where it's not so intense. Go to Montana. There you go. A lot of good people in Montana. Costs, again, a lot of it has to do with heroic means. A lot of it has to do with medications, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of money could be saved if we could deal with this problem. And there is a nutrition role, so we'll talk about that. This is just looking at the differences between 2008, 2009, and again, we're looking at the trend. The trend is on an upward slide, so we have some work to do to reduce this problem. And there is obviously an ethnic basis for high blood pressure. It does increase with age as your blood vessels change, and things just don't work as good as they used to. And then there definitely, again, there's an ethnic range with African Americans having quite a bit higher percentage of high blood pressure than other populations. So definitely ethnic range or binge. Most of what you hear about hypertension is essential hypertension. It's not really a one cause. It's not really something, you can go to the doctor and they say, well, we've got high blood pressure. The patient asks, well, what can we do? And basically the doctor will say, well, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, because there can be a lot of causes, a lot of variabilities to this. But if you can link it to one thing, then that's secondary hypertension, if it's a specific disease or specific problem. But normally what a doc sees, or what you may hear about when you become a healthcare professional, is essential hypertension, where in all reality, nobody really knows, and so we're just going to start with something, the easiest things before we get to medications, and then go from there and see if we can reduce it without medications first. What are the symptoms? The reason it's called a silent killer is because there really are no symptoms. Unless you get your blood pressure checked, you will normally never know that you have high blood pressure. There may be some people that say, I know when my blood pressure is up because I get a headache, or I know when my blood pressure is up because I get nosebleeds, those kinds of things. But normally you can walk around and not even know you have high blood pressure, which is a problem for individuals who never go see the doctor. They just, I don't feel bad, so why should I go see the doctor? Well, you should somehow get your blood pressure checked and by a professional. I mean, the drugstore things are fine just to kind of, see where you're at possibly, but you need a professional person to look at it and do the real blood pressure check, so that you will know. Diagnosis, the only sure way, again, is to get it monitored, and then if it's high, you monitor it again, because there is such a thing as what they call I think it's something like the white coat syndrome or issues. When you go to the doctor, you're nervous, and so your blood pressure goes up, that kind of a thing. So it needs to be monitored over a period of time, when you're calm and you've seated for a while, and that kind of thing. And the blood pressure monitors you get for home are pretty good. They can see it. You can see a trend with those. Again, it'd be better if you got it checked by a health professional as opposed to doing it at home. But at home, you can see if there's a trend, if something's happening, if it's going up and it's consistently up, then that might tell you to go see a doc. And there are some good ones out there, so that might be way. But the only way to know if you have high blood pressure is to get it checked. You will never know physically, really, in most cases, if you have high blood pressure or not. What are some non-nutritional things? Again, it could be a kidney function. Kidney has a role in monitoring blood pressures, and so that would be the worst case scenario is if you had a kidney problem. As you get older, we saw the race can play a role. Genetics, I mean, if you have a high blood pressure in your family, then you're more than likely at risk for that. Low activity, low aerobic exercise tends to increase the risk of hypertension, stress, that kind of thing. Nutrition classes with exams might be causing you to have high blood pressure. Who knows? But anyway, so those are non-nutritional, and they're really, you can affect activity, you can affect stress in some sense, but the other ones, your genetics, your race, your age, your kidneys, there's not much you can do about them, but you can affect the last two. Nutritional factors, some of the first things that they will try when the doctor monitors your blood pressure and says you've got high blood pressure, one of the first things that they'll recommend is lowering the sodium in your diet. It only works if you are sodium sensitive, and only about 25% of the population, as a rule, is sodium sensitive. What that basically means is that your kidneys are not able to get rid of sodium effectively. So sodium, if you have high sodium in your blood, if you remember from diffusion osmosis days, if you have high sodium in your blood, water is going to accumulate around the sodium, so you're going to increase blood volume of water, of fluids, and so that's going to put tension on your blood vessels, which is hypertension. So if you lower your sodium, then you kind of relieve the pressure of high fluids, and you can lower the blood pressure. But for 75% of the population, sodium's not going to work. So it's only for 25% of the population. But it's a very easy thing to do, so they will recommend that first and then see if that works. Obviously, obesity is a problem because for every pound of fat that you increase, it's about a mile of capillaries or small blood vessels. So obesity, even decreasing, it takes about a 10-pound decrease in weight to show, especially fat, to show a difference in blood pressure. So unless you're 10 pounds over your ideal body weight, then it's not going to do much good. But if you are at least 10 pounds over, for every 10 pounds, you're going to see some significant difference in your blood pressure, but it's going to take about 10 pounds. They have done some tissue samples of some individuals and found that they have low calcium, magnesium, potassium, and when they increase those, then and got them back to normal levels, then the blood pressure tend to go down. That, it's just for some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but they might recommend doing something like that. Potassium also tends to be cause you to slough off sodium a little bit more. So that's why they recommend eating bananas, and potatoes actually higher in potassium than bananas, but so you could increase your risk of stroke by having these low levels. So that would be something they might check. Alcohol is a vasoconstrictor, which basically means it constricts your blood vessels, which is sometimes why you would get flush when you're drunk and that kind of thing. But by constricting the blood vessels, you're going to decrease the amount of space the blood can go through, so that increases pressure. And so the recommendation would be to decrease your alcohol. So those things can help. Those first things that they would try before they went to medications. So as far as pharmacological treatments, diuretics are meant to decrease blood volume, so they cause you to urinate more. Adrenergic inhibitors basically help you reduce your stress. And then vasodilators are going to open up your blood vessels and give more room for the blood to go through. But the hope is you can affect this before you get to having to take medications or something like that. Diet related, what are some things that you should try? Number one, lose weight if you are obese or if you're overweight. If you have a high BMI, you need to reduce your weight. So again, every 10 pounds of weight loss is going to show a significant difference in blood pressure. Alcohol restriction, lower it down. Potassium increase, possibly increasing potassium. You don't want to increase it too much though, so don't start taking supplements. It's better to get it from food because you can get hyperkalemia, which will cause heart palpitations and cause some real problems. So I would not recommend, unless your doctor recommends and does a prescription for potassium, you'd normally want to just look on the internet or look in your book and look under potassium and what foods are high in potassium, and then try to eat those to help with lowering your hypertension. Sodium restriction, again, the common recommendation if you don't have hypertension is about 2,300 milligrams. Now you might see on your diet study yours is a little bit different because it is regulated based on activity level and your age and that kind of thing. But if you're at a high risk population, basically over 40 years of age, or if you have high blood pressure, or as we said, are African American, then they would reduce that down to about 1,500 milligrams, so a lot lower. Most of our sodium comes from processed foods. It's referred to as hidden sodium. So things like sodium benzoate or I can't think of it, what they add to Chinese food, monosodium glutamate, MSG that they would add to enhance flavors, lots of preservatives. So you would want to look on your food label. If you had high blood pressure, you'd want to look at your food label and look at the sodium and make sure it's, on that rule that we looked at earlier, the 5%, 20% rule. Look at the sodium and make sure it's lower, right around that 5% range, and then, you'd be good. But again, hidden sodium processed foods are the main player in sodium, because a lot of things have sodium in them you wouldn't even really know. It's not really salt. It's preservatives and things like that. So prevention, eat a healthy diet. Again, phytochemicals and things are going to help with stress even in your nervous system. It's going to help relieve some of the problems. Healthy weight, physically active, especially aerobic exercise, don't smoke, limit alcohol use. Those are the preventive mechanisms. So there are some things we can do. You just have to be careful and watch and read labels and that kind of thing. There is such a thing as getting low sodium, so I just wanted to talk about this. Some of you that had my BI 112 class, we talked about this when we were talking about osmosis diffusion, that kind of thing. But low blood plasma sodium levels, basically it's most often occurs when people are working outdoors and sweating a lot, and or they're running a marathon, sweating a lot. This would be again a case where you're really sweating a lot of sodium, losing a lot of sodium and electrolytes through your sweat and that kind of thing, and drinking pure water, and you're not replacing your electrolytes, so therefore you're diluting your blood, and you are actually going to have, again, a higher concentration of water in your blood vessels than you do in your tissues. So what's going to happen is water is going to move from high concentration to low concentration in your tissues. It can cause bloating. It can cause actually edema in the brain. If you follow up in here where it says you have hypotonic state, where basically you're going to gain water into your brain. It can actually cause you to go into a coma, and it can be a real problem. So if you are working out on a hot day or exercising on a hot day for a significant period of time, or running a marathon on a hot day. This is when some of the electrolyte drinks would be the preferred source of liquid, because you want to replace those electrolytes. You don't want to drink pure water. You can even overhydrate just drinking too much water. If you just continue to drink pure water all day long, you're going to dilute that. So make sure, it's good to have enough water, but you can't overdo it to that extent. So hyponatremia, low blood sodium levels, it can be a real problem. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that there is such a thing as getting too much water. And with all nutrients, there is such a thing as getting too much of a good thing. All right, so we'll talk a little bit of osteoporosis next time. We'll talk to you later.